but I also want to get into cause and effect. So according to critical rationalism, our inductive methods of generalization are not rationally supported, but due to our evolved tendencies. So we have some mental model, a schema, to successfully determine cause and effect. But what is it and how does it work? Consider the relationship of altitude and temperature. The higher up we go away from the surface of the Earth, the colder things get. But the relationship goes one way. If we cool an object down, it doesn't change its altitude, its height. So why does that make sense? If you ask a child who has only seen buses with a bus driver and ask them, can there be a bus without a bus driver? They should answer yes. We intuitively know bus drivers are separate from buses, even though 100% of buses and observations have bus drivers. So how are we justified? Well, in the Book of Why, The New Science of Cause and Effect, Judea Pearl and Dana McKenzie explain the history of cause and effect. Going back to the first paper on linear regression, scientists have long been taught not to infer causation from correlation, to observations occurring together with no meaningful relationship. Further back in time, philosophers have many arguments and questions regarding cause and effect relationships. Pearl and McKenzie argue the topic is confused because of a lack of precise language to formulate cause and effect questions. Pearl describes a three-layered explanation of intelligence up to and including understanding cause and effect, and it's seeing, doing, and imagining. So this book really blew me away, and I won't say that I fully understand it. It would probably take a couple of read-throughs, but it's incredible how it frames things like intelligence. So in these three levels, they call it the ladder of understanding, ladder of causation. There's seeing, which is association. So it's the activity of seeing or observing. And the questions here are, what if I see, and how are the variables related? How would seeing X change my belief in Y? And seeing is pure observation. So this is the statistical level of correlation. The majority of animals, besides humans, are at this stage. Does a scary predator jump out from behind a bush? Then we associate that bush with the predator and avoid it. Do prey congregate around specific trees? Stick near those trees to find prey. At the next stage, there's the activity of doing and intervention. So the questions are, what if I do ... How? What would Y be if I do X? How can I make Y happen? So doing is interacting with the environment. Tool-using creatures that plan are on this level. Consider a toddler with a pair of sunglasses. When wearing the sunglasses, visual input is distorted, light is dimmer. With no understanding of why, the toddler might infer the world got darker, right? Everything in its visual input has gotten darker. What toddlers often do is hold the sunglasses over their eyes, lower them, and then put them back on, repeating this process several times, noticing the change in observation. So, of course, with this interaction, the cause for the changes is controlled, occurring when the sunglasses cover the eyes. Through this interaction, the toddler comes to learn it is not the world that changes, but looking through the sunglasses which distorts it. But the highest level is imagining, or counterfactuals. So this is the activity of imagining or retrospection, thinking of the past, understanding. So the questions are, what if I had done ... Was it X that caused Y? Why? What if X had not occurred? What if I had acted differently? So imagination is the highest level of understanding. Counterfactual learners on the top rung can imagine worlds that do not exist and infer reasons for observed phenomena. So Pearl once believed, as many others, that Bayesian rationalism was the highest form of rationality and the basis for all of our reasoning. He worked on Bayesian networks and learned their limitations, and through decades of research in the field of cause and effect, colleagues, scientists, and mathematicians discovered a proof of due calculus. So by applying a cause and effect schema, a model, we can properly account for confounding variables, which are unknown causes and effects. We can bypass needing to intervene, do, on an observational study, which is seeing, straight to counterfactual reasoning, which is imagination and understanding. We can infer cause and effect from observational studies. So the key is the causal diagram. So this is fascinating, right? It's, we have to stop and really think about what we just understood here, but it's, you can bypass having to actually experiment, and you can just use observational studies to gain an actual understanding of cause and effect. So it's almost like you can, do a meta-analysis and then find from all these observational studies and find cause and effects without having to actually test and intervene. So it's interesting, but okay, what's a causal diagram? But Bayesian networks are related to causal diagrams in a simple way. A causal diagram is a Bayesian network in which every arrow signifies a direct causal relation, or at least the probability of one, in the direction of that arrow. So here's a simple example of causal diagrams, but the most basic version of a confounding variable. So Z is a confounder of the proposed causal relationship between X and Y. So if you think about age, walking, and mortality, age has a causal effect on your ability to walk, but also your mortality, and how much you walk has a causal effect on mortality as well. So age in this case would be a confounding variable. But with precise language to ask properly formed cause and effect questions, we can simulate this reasoning in machines. Machine inference of cause and effect is developing more each day. Other machine learning models, such as trees, are modified to causal decision trees. So this is huge. I just want to point out again that there is fascinating research being done on cause and effect, and it's no more about you can't infer causation from correlation. Now we really can infer a lot from correlation if we do things in an appropriate way by asking the specifically right questions, formulated in the right way, to be able to understand cause and effect. So this is huge, but cause and effect here will be quite a central component to what I'm explaining about the meaning of life. So we'll go on more and more. Thanks.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this clip, please consider checking out the full video and the series linked in the description.